welcome to my channel. If you're new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I just want to make a video talking about why I quit Burlington. Well, I quit Burlington last week, I believe, and it wasn't a good experience at all. It was so bad. First, starting on the interview. The interview, oh my gosh. Like, for the interview, I actually applied online. I think it was either on Indeed or on their site, and I got a response 1 to 2 days later, and it was so crazy. I was excited. They're like, "We're so happy. We're so excited for you. We want to select you for an interview. Please start to apply, like, not to actually make an interview date, a phone interview." And I'm like, a phone interview? Yay, I'm so excited. I was so excited, you guys, when I got that I had a phone interview, and then they said it's going to be 12 to, I picked the time, and it showed the earliest 9 something and the latest 12 o'clock. So I picked the 12 o'clock one. I picked 12 o'clock, and then the 12 o'clock, and then it will be 12 to 12:15, a 15-minute. And then the day before the interview, they said, "We're so excited to get to meet you and talk to you." And I'm like, yay, I'm going to get my chance to interview with them. And the day that it came, 12 o'clock came, I'm like, okay, 12 o'clock. And then 12:15 came, and then the whole day they didn't say anything. They didn't say anything to me for a long time. I was so upset that they didn't contact me for a month or whatever. And then out of the blue, this lady from a completely different state says, "Oh, hey, hello." She was from a Burlington store, and she said, "Oh, hey, did they call you for your interview?" I said, "No." And she said, "Are you still interested in the position of being a cashier?" And I said, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay, I can't wait." And she said, "I'm sorry, the reason that they weren't able to actually interview you was because of some inventory or a lot of other things." And I just went with that excuse, she said. And I'm like, okay. And she said, "I'll be able to interview you either today or tomorrow." And I said, "Okay, tomorrow." And she said, "Oh, okay, I'll talk to you, interview you tomorrow at 2 p.m. And I was like, I was like, okay. And then I didn't really believe that she would, because she went a long time without really answering me. Not answering, but I was like, "Oh, it's 2 o'clock. She didn't answer. I was almost about to not want it." And then 2:04, we did the interview, and it didn't feel like a regular interview. And it felt nice. Like, I wasn't as scared. And I answered every question the best of my ability. And everything was like, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Good point. I love that." She was saying that a lot in the interview. Mind you, she is in a completely different state than I am. And she said, it was just 8 minutes on the phone. And she said, "This was very good. You said some really good things. I will send it to the manager, so the manager at the store that you're going to work at, so they can see that maybe they'll hire you, they'll interview you themselves and see what they want to do with you." And I said, okay. Excuse me. I thought that went well. And then I had to wait and wait for them to call me, and I kept on beating myself up about not answering the phone of other numbers that could have been them. Then I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to call them myself. I'm just going to call them and see if they will hire me or if they will interview me. And then I called there. It wasn't the actual manager, but it was someone else. I think it was a manager, but it wasn't really the store manager or anything. And then I actually was like, okay. Then he said, "Hello, what can I do for you?" And then I said that I put in an application. And he said, "When did you put in the application?" I said July. And it was actually September at this point. And I'm like, okay, July it was. He's like, that's a long time. And then he asked a lot of questions, and then he saw my information, and then I told him that I was interviewed by someone and that they were going to send him the information. And then they said, oh, I'll hire you. And I thought it was the main person who hired. Said, I'll hire you. I was like, wait, you come to orientation, bring your banking information. And I'm like, okay. I'm thinking this is going to be a regular orientation. And I'm like, okay. And then I was very excited. And I'm like, yay, I got a job. Woo-hoo, got a job. I was very happy. And I was doing a dance. I was just dancing all over the place. I'm like, yeah, I got a job. And then out of nowhere, I'm like, and then fast forward to when I go to orientation. I was told you have to go to the cashier to let them know you're there for orientation. And I thought, okay. And then I was in line because other people were buying stuff at Burlington. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go in line. And then I go to them and they get their walkie-talkie and they tell someone to come over and to ask me. Then I tell her, she said, hey, how are you doing? Or saying, what did I need? And I said, I'm here for orientation for the cashier position. And she looked at me very confused and upset, like I didn't know about this. No one told me anybody was coming for orientation for anything. And I felt very taken off guard because I'm thinking, how did they not know? Isn't there someone who takes care of that? And then she took me to the back, and then there's like this coding that was happening on the door. And then I was in the system, but I didn't have my work email yet. And then for the work email, I had to ask for the work email, and like the actual number for my employee account for the website to look at all the information. They gave it to me that day in orientation, and then she gave me the work email and gave me a password. So I was able to get in the system and do my orientation, but I was sitting there by myself without anybody there with me for a little bit. And but keep in mind, the orientation was 5 hours. And I'm like, 5 hours? I brought water and some snacks because they said the snack machine won't work or anything. And I'm like, okay, at least I had the information I needed to do my orientation. Like I had to do my, yeah, it was really crazy. They gave me that information, the work email and the coding, like the number for me to get in the system, and the work email to get all the information for the pay, the working schedule. And I'm like, okay. And then, I was like, okay, I'm going through it. Then someone else comes in doing their orientation. But the person who I met, the store manager, he was all over the place. He wasn't really helping me. He was helping the other person, but he wasn't really helping. And then, it was pretty crazy for me that I had to deal with that. And I was in there for 5 hours. And then he left me with a walkie-talkie in case I had to ask someone, but I didn't know a lot of people's names, and I kind of like didn't know the name, and I felt like there should have been a specific person there to help me, but I filled out stuff without knowing if I was filling it out right. I put in all my information and stuff and videos. It was just a headache. It was 5 hours straight. I just wanted to get everything done and leave. And the one thing that was odd was that when we were at there, it closed. It wasn't even 10 o'clock yet. It was like 8, 9 o'clock. And it was supposed to close at 10:30 or 11. I don't know why they kept on closing early. And it was weird. People were coming in trying to buy stuff, and they said, oh, we're closed, you can't leave. Or then while I was waiting for our ride, he was telling people that, oh, we just don't have anybody to help us close or have enough people to help us keep it open or close it early. So that's what happened when I left the orientation. And then fast forward to 1 week later. For 1 week later, I actually went to work, and I was not even trained to do any job there that properly. I wasn't trained. And I was surprised when they told me I was going to be doing something else that wasn't what I applied for. And I'm like, you're not telling me that you're telling me I have to do, like I had to do, my position was to be a cashier. And they gave me, like, I had to be in the aisles, fixing the shelves, like the rugs, the towels, the pillows. I had to do that. Then out of nowhere, I didn't do that. The store manager, the people that are telling me what to do had to go to the manager, the store manager, for what they needed to do. And I'm like, okay. They had to go to the store manager, and he was telling me what to do. And I did what they told me to do. Then I had to do the fitting room, which I didn't enjoy. I was very uncomfortable with dealing with the fitting room because I really wanted to do the cashier job. I was quiet. Yes, I'm a quiet person. But if I was doing the cashier, I would have been a little better and more confident knowing I'm coming to do what I just wasn't comfortable. And some of them were kind of snappy and not as nice, or I just wasn't in a good mood there. I just didn't want to be in the fitting room. Then one day I went to do the fitting room and it was closed for some reason. And then I went to somebody and said that I didn't, the fitting room was closed. And then they gave me to do the shoes and receiving. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did. They were telling me I did a good job. And then I made a mistake at one point. And then I was told, oh, you need to go to do the floor, which the floor means for Burlington is basically you do the clothes, you pick up all the clothes from the floor, the hangers, you put the hangers on the hanger rack, you put get the empty hangers from there and put the clothes on it and take the clothes from it. I was just like, dang, that was my last position that I had to do. And I'm like, okay. I was very surprised at why it was doing all that. I'm like, how come I had to deal with doing all these positions? I did the fitting room, I did the aisles, I did the clothes, I did that. And I wanted to do the cashier. And at one point I said, how come I'm not doing the cashier? I applied to be a cashier. How come I'm not being a cashier? And they said, because the customers at Burlington, at this location at Burlington, are very rude and they're very mean, and we don't want to put you in a position where anyone is mean to you or anything, and you have to be very fast and very quick. And I felt like I just didn't understand why I had to do all these other positions, and they're not being honest with me and telling me why I'm not doing what I applied to do. And you had to be very fast, because I did food before. I did dietary aid. I did McDonald's before, which was very awesome. But for me, I just felt like they weren't being honest with my progress and what I was doing. And I was just very confused to why I wasn't able to do it. And from the very beginning, it was very hard to understand why I couldn't do cashier. I must say, when I first started working, it's like I had to ask a lot of information, for orientation, how you get all the information and you know what your job entails and what you need to do and what you need to do for your job, and you understand your place. It's like I understand bare minimum. It's like I had to ask questions all the time to know what to do. And I was like, how come I had to ask so many questions and not know what I'm doing? And then they're asking the store manager everything that I could do next, and he wasn't scheduling me. I had to call to ask the schedule a lot of the time, and then I was very confused to why I couldn't schedule as much. It was very crazy to me how I was being thrown on all these different. And my last position was the floor, which means I had to get the It was very uncomfortable doing the fitting room because I was very, I was like, how come I'm here? I'm just standing here. I mean, they couldn't bring their card in. I was doing what I could, and I was doing the racks, and they said, oh, you have to let somebody know that, you have to let somebody know that that's full. But I didn't know who to let know was full. And then the store manager kept on coming asking me if everything was okay, and he said he was going to bring me. He said he was going to bring me a walkie-talkie in case I needed to communicate with somebody, to let somebody know that I needed something or I needed to go to the bathroom. He never did that, so I felt like I was just alone, and I felt like we couldn't just go get our own walkie-talkies and to get it to it wasn't like you could get your own walkie-talkie and actually understand that you had to talk to somebody and let them know what you're doing. It wasn't like that. He said he was going to bring it to me in 5 minutes, and he never came back with it. And I didn't know. I had to let somebody know in the fitting room that it was full, the racks for men and women, that they were full. I was just irritated. I didn't, if I came off to anybody as rude, I'm sorry. I was just like, the experience of working there was not a positive one. It was not positive at all. It was very headache. I had headaches all the time. It was really hard for me to understand. Like, I was like, do I need a walkie-talkie or something? He didn't never, the store manager promised he would give me one, but he never did for me to communicate with somebody. He wasn't properly communicating with me at all. And then, it was very hard for me. I'm like, what's going on with all that? And then after that, he sent me, said somebody came. She was a supervisor, and she was told by the store manager to ask another supervisor to come to me and say, come to the back and receiving and do the shoes. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, come to the back and come to the back and we'll teach you how to do the shoes and receiving. And I followed the lady, and I'm like, okay. And we went, and she showed me how to do them, and I did it very well. Then one time I made a mistake recently of putting it on the wrong way, and she had to go to the front to get magnets, and I realized I did that on a lot of them. And then that's the day that I actually was told to do another position, and I thought, okay, I guess they want me to do all these and learn how to do everything. That's what was in my mind. And I actually was like, she had me go to some other lady, and she was showing me what to do, and she said, oh, you're doing a good job, which I was. And I was on the floor. Like I mentioned before, it was to pick up stuff from the floor, pick up like the items, like the clothing, and pick up the hangers and put the empty hangers on the clothing and put them where you found them, or put them in the aisle, or put the empty hangers somewhere else. And I did that. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this for a while. I was irritated. I felt like, dang, they keep on throwing me to all these different things. And I thought I was doing a good job at everything, and I was. And then the lady, she had to go be a cashier also, and she had to leave me to be a cashier, then come back. And then I was just doing that for work. And it was okay. And then I had to deal with customers asking me where things were, and I didn't know where things were because I was still new, and I didn't know where things were. And then I started trying to figure out where things were, and I could tell some people where things were. And it was a crazy experience. I was very snappy and irritated because I felt like I was doing a good job, but I felt like I was being told to go to so many different positions. And I'm like, okay. It was very crazy to me. And I'm like, okay. And then one day I'm like, okay, I have something I need to do. I had to be off to have an OBGYN appointment. So I had to go tell the store manager that I needed to be off on a Monday. And he was like, okay, you'll be off Monday? And then he said, yeah. And he said he had all scheduled. Then he came out and told me that he felt he felt like I'm a nice girl, and he thinks that I'm a really good person, but I basically, he felt like he felt like he put me in so many different positions to see what fit with me best, and he felt like he was running out of options of what to give me. And I'm thinking, he never really communicated anything with me to let me know that I wasn't doing something correctly. By the way, I was still fresh and new in this job. It's not like I was working there for 6 months or anything and did not know what I was doing. He didn't tell me. He told people what to tell me what to do. I did everything that they told me to do. He wasn't being clear to me of what to do and tell me what I could have improved. I felt like he was going to fire me or something. I'm thinking, if you're not being honest with me of things that I'm not doing correctly and I make a mistake, try to tell me how to do it better. He wasn't being clear. And I heard a lot of people talking about the store manager like he like in a frustrated way, like saying how he doesn't communicate, how he makes everything so hard for them, or that people were saying that he was giving them too much to do or things that didn't need to be done. And I'm like, I'm not the only one who's irritated, and they're saying he said things need to be done that don't need to be done. I'm thinking, he's not the best store manager or anything. And he was telling me all these things that I just felt very drained and speechless. I did not have anything to say except for I felt like I did a good job, and I thought that I did a good job at everything I did because everyone was telling me I was doing a good job, basically. And I was like, and I started to break down crying, and I said, I feel like I should quit, and I slammed down the time card. It's a card that you would slide in the clock in machine, clock in, clock out, to clock in and clock out, and I slammed it down. And he said, I wish you the best of luck, or I wish you the best. Then I said, okay, and I got my stuff and left. And then I realized I had my name tag on, and I took it off and went back to the office and gave it back to him. And I was very upset, and I left. And it was a very, very bad experience for me. It wasn't a good experience at all. It wasn't. From the beginning of them not giving me the information I needed before orientation. When I get to the orientation, they're acting like they don't know that I'm supposed to be there. Then they give me all the information that I need to get in the system, but not the information I need to understand my job and to understand that I either am going for the position that I came for, or giving me a lot of positions and keeping to themselves of how I'm actually doing, and going to the store manager and I'm just thinking I'm doing a good job, which I am. But then one mistake I make, it turns out that I'm not doing the best at that. I mean, when I made a mistake at any other thing, they would tell me what I need to do to fix it, and I fix it, and I do better at my job. It's like they weren't trying to tell me what I need to do to fix it, and just spreading me out to every single position they have in the store. And I felt like they were the most dishonest in that company. That I'm not saying that it is always the whole company, but I'm just saying that location. I think Burlington is a good company, but that location I was at was not good, and the store manager wasn't honest, and they were very short on people. Now I can understand why they were probably short on workers, because they weren't honest with the workers. They weren't telling them what they needed to have done and what they needed to do. They weren't telling them that they weren't doing as good of a job and they need to improve their skills at that position. They weren't telling them, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. Maybe that's what the store manager wasn't doing. And they were short on people, and they were saying how they were short on people of keeping the store open, to have it open for a long amount of time, and they had trouble with having people that helped them stay open longer for their actual hours. So that wasn't a good location. I think Burlington is a good company, but that location I worked at wasn't a good one, because the store manager wasn't good at his job, I guess. I think that I did the best I could, and he wasn't conveying to me the things I needed to fix. Because I am determined to do a good job. I did everything everyone told me to do. And I think that my best was good enough. And that's probably what happened to that location, because they didn't have a lot of people that were trying to work there or stay there. So that's what happened. And that's why I no longer work at Burlington. And I got very emotional when I said I quit. I cried, and I quit because I felt like he was going to fire me for something that he could have told me himself. Of like, I was new, let me tell you. I was new. It's not like I was there for 6 months and didn't know what I was doing. I was only there for almost a month or two. Like, it wasn't 2 months. It was like, I started like September, the week after, and then I quit in October. Like, yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy to me how that happened. It was early October that I quit. It was so weird. It was like I quit last week. It was so weird how that happened to me. It was so weird that happened. It's like, usually when you make a mistake, usually they let you know about that mistake and you fix it and then you improve it. But that situation, he was keeping a lot from me and wasn't telling me what I needed to improve and letting other people tell me what to do. And I did everything that was asked of me. I was new. It's like I wasn't there for a long time. I was there for only a month. Like about 4 or 5 weeks. Not that long. It was very hard. It was just not a good experience, so. But I did everything that they told me to do, and he kept a lot from me. I'll tell you before, like, he said that, I think you're a very nice girl, and I think that I tried to, like, I tried to make sure that everything, like, he wanted to fit me into something. He wasn't trying to tell me the truth of, oh, excuse me, wasn't trying to tell me what I could do to fix the position. Like, one mistake is like put you to the next position. I felt like he wasn't very honest with the workers. He does that to other people as well. That's why they don't have a lot of people who work at that location. I think Burlington is a good company, but that location was not a good one that I worked at. So I would say, yeah, that wasn't a good experience for me. It wasn't good at all. But I quit, and because it seemed like he was keeping a lot from me. He wasn't relaying to me information of how I was doing. I was asking a lot of questions. I was trying very hard to do the best job I could. And he wasn't trying to give me the effort and he didn't even give me a walkie-talkie to have me communicate with people at the fitting room, telling me that I'm quiet. But if I have to communicate with people with a walkie-talkie and you're supposed to give it to me and I can't leave my position, then I felt like I did everything was asked of me, and everything wasn't enough. But I would say for a next job, I know that I did the best I could. I did the best I could. I did everything that was asked of me, everything that I was told. So I was blindsided by everything. So yeah, I just wanted to say that was my experience with working at Burlington. That was a crazy experience. And if y'all have any experience of why you quit Burlington, let me know below. And let me know any other stories that you have of quitting any job you have ever had. So tell me of how your experience was. I want to know your experiences of how it was when you quit Burlington or any job. Well, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and like and subscribe to my channel, and thank you so much for watching. Okay, thank you. Like if you liked it, thumbs it up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified about all the new videos I upload. Remember, love, knowledge, and laughter, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Okay, bye.